Hey, what's going on, guys? Park Phantom 81 here. So I kind of wanted to talk about this idea that I had, which might even get me a little bit in trouble with the financial YouTube community. That's basically, how much time does it take you guys to decide whether you want to invest in something or not? Because when I watch other financial YouTuber videos, they generally say that if you're going to stock pick, you have to be prepared to dedicate hours and hours into research into the company, get to know it well, read the balance sheet, income statements, have lunch with the CEO and babysit his kids, every third Sunday and that kind of thing. And so I kind of find myself sounding like the cool uncle. Like if someone asks me, hey, should I invest in Home Depot? I'm like, yeah. If someone asks me like, hey, should I invest in Apple? I'm like, hell yeah, you should. But I've done none of these things that would have, been the requirements according to other financial YouTubers. And so I'm just kind of wondering why that is. Like, is it because that's genuinely what's required in order to make a good investment decision? Is it because people are scared to kind of say the wrong thing? Basically, what I'm asking is, are there some shortcuts? Like, why is it that I can feel comfortable with making an investment decision in like 10 or 15 seconds? I'm not the greatest investor in the world. I'm still kind of learning, not even that old to be honest, and I don't have that much experience with investing, so maybe I have it all wrong. And the other point I want to make is that even people that claim they're doing good, solid fundamental analysis genuinely just ask themselves a few questions like, is this company growing? Do they have a decent moat? Are they in an industry that's growing? What are their competitive advantages like in management and stuff like that, right? But it doesn't take that long to come up with these ideas, right? Because in our daily lives, we just see what's going on in the world around us. And the last thing that they'll do is probably look at a 5-year chart, right? And say okay, what's the price look like and what's it done in the past 5 years? And I feel like that genuinely tends to influence most investment decisions, right? Let's take a look at Apple and Microsoft. They're averaging at least 20% every single year, right? Obviously it's a bull market, but I feel like even investors that claim that they're doing fundamental analysis just end up looking at something like that because the point of investing is to grow. And so there aren't that many people that are willing to take a risk in a company that's not doing well over the past 5 years, something like 3M, because it's not relevant, right? I think investing kind of has a strange culture of people giving themselves a lot of credit where it may not be due. Something like Apple growing by, let's say, 100% over the past, 4 or 5 months, but earnings only growing between anywhere from 9 to 19%, right? That happens, that stuff happens. And, people love to say it's as a result of the research, but oftentimes it may or may not be. And so kind of going back to shortcuts. So obviously we know dividend aristocrats is probably a pretty good filter. Companies that have increased their dividend pretty often, obviously means they value their shareholders. It means they're a healthy company with good earnings most of the time, 95% of the time, right? The other thing is just large cap companies in general. Obviously people like to cite GE as a company that was one of the largest companies in the world but is no longer doing so well. What about other companies that are not named GE that have been in the top 50 in the S&P 500 for the past decade? Chances are they're probably doing okay too. And the thing is, even with the GE or any other company that's just happens to be large, that doesn't do well over the next 10 years, would fundamental analysis have, given you that insight, especially for beginner investors? If you're a beginner investor and you're trying to do deep, fundamental analysis and deep research and stuff, is there really that much that it's going to tell you, especially as a beginner? And so that's kind of why that advice always kind of sounded kind of funky to me for beginners. And so going back to 3M as an investment, I think 3M is an amazing investment, but I haven't dedicated hours and hours to that, to make that decision, where it could take someone hours and hours to come to the same conclusion. And it's just people would never suggest taking any shortcuts. I just don't believe in that, honestly. There's got to be some filters that are pretty good, really, really solid filters that don't take that long to come up with, basically. So yeah, let me know what your guys' shortcuts are. Obviously, like I said, this might be a controversial video in the financial community. That's okay. We're always, all about pushing the envelope and stuff like that. So let me know what you guys think, and I'll see you guys in the next video.